How goes it, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Emmett, and happy 2024. A lot of things has happened over the last recent weeks, but I'm so glad that we're actually into a new year, new me. So let's try to get this thing started and keep it at least on point. Video in the background is a project I'm currently working on. I'm trying to get better at least trying to post videos, and 3D modeling I did fall off for a long time, but that's not the subject of today's video. This is just background stuff for you guys to actually look into. The most recent thing that has piqued a little bit of my interest, granted I'm still from a 30,000 foot view, has been what do they call them? The localizers. Localizers when it comes to anime, manga, and all of that. And I will tell you, I might have been somebody who would have been interested in that. I've been to Japan a couple of times, but manga, anime, and stuff like that don't really interest me. The most that you got from me was way back in the day when Toonami was first starting out, and you got me watching Rurouni Kenshin, Tenchi Muyo, and later on I found out that Sergeant Frog was a manga that existed, and I thought it was funny, kept up with it for like 2 or 3 books, and then just fell off the face of the earth for me. But the whole thing when it comes to the current or previous last year's really argument when it comes to localization from Japanese text to wherever the text may be put, because let's just face it, it's like idioms. Idioms in English do not transfer well into other languages, so you need translators for that, or at least somebody around to kind of sort of make it appropriate. Okay, fine. We need localizers for that. I check Raj, understood. What has my attention on this, however, is that apparently over the years, these localizers have been getting a little bit too I don't want to call it fast and loose, but they've been getting a little personal in a sense with their localizations and their translations, which apparently the community for there has been telling them for quite a while that this is not what they said, you're butchering the work, and such and so forth, essentially just calling them out for what they are, incompetent at their job. That's really the only way that I see it. And they carried on for the longest time, essentially going on with the normal rhetoric of, if you disagree with anything that I say, then your insert istophobia comment here, or the grand old one that some people tend to use when you tell them that they're wrong, they call you a Nazi, which, I'll tell you this, Nazi actually used to have like a very stern and serious meaning, but it's just essentially watered down to like just your casual everyday insult. It's like and I have a buddy who's like this. It's like if you just hear the N-word every day, and it's like, wow, it had punch, it had meaning when they first said it, but you heard it so much that it's just like it's not even like ripping off a Band-Aid anymore. It's just a regular Tuesday. But we'll get into his life later if I actually have the time. But this whole argument, the whole argument that they're trying to essentially approach is they are not doing their job. I'm not going to sit here and try to get into the political aspect of it, even though I kind of did. I apologize. I know that's not what some of you are here for. They just did not do their job. Dot blank and simple. You're allowed to be your own person. Nobody on this planet is going to stop you from doing that. But the problem is you decided to be your own person on the clock. You have a job to do. Your job is not to insert your personal bias into X, Y, and Z. Now, if it's something completely outlandish, say, for example, if we're talking about killing children and hanging the family because it just feels oh so joyous, and we're talking in a psychotic sense, and hopefully some of you actually understand what I'm talking about on this. Please do not take this out of context. But if we're talking about in that sense, it's like, okay, yeah, then something has to be said. But so far, if it's your job just to translate the text into literally what it says, and of course, not make it in such a way to where it's harmful, I feel like I need to close the gap on that. But me of sane mind, I really don't think that I should. I would hope that some of you would have a modicum of common sense to understand what I'm speaking on. And again, I'm speaking with all of this from a 30,000 foot view. I encourage you to do your own research. But as I said, your job is literally just to translate the text. You have failed in doing your job to translate the text. And now you're going out on places like Twitter, Tumblr, if it still freaking exists, any other social media that you have, and you're trying to label everybody else who's been telling you for years, that you're doing a bad job. Stop inserting your political bias. And the most prominent thing that I have, at least at a glance, been seeing is that the people who work there who have not been doing their jobs correctly are insulting everybody else who's been telling them that they've been messing up. They're insulting the people at the bottom line that give the company that pays you money. Rule number 1, never insult the customer. Never insult the customer. I saw this coming all the way back in like 2000, I want to say 14, 15, when some of these weird shows started coming out, and people behind the show started calling everybody who didn't watch it bigots or sexist or istophobiates or whatever the word is. Okay, fine. If that's what I am, just for thinking, yeah, this show's probably not for me, all right, I guess that's what I am. I'm not watching anything that you put out. I'm not watching anything that this studio, or at least this specific wing, puts out. And so far, my life's been great for it. I don't understand where this sense of entitlement, let me backtrack that a little bit. I understand kind of sort of where it came from. When you get handed a project that is highly regarded by a lot of people, you see yourself as some semblance of importance to that project. You are tied to that project, and that's fine. You can feel that importance, but that's not an excuse to not do your job. That's not an excuse to not do your job poorly. That's not an excuse for you to hijack somebody else's work to try to grandstand on some bullshit issues that you think is important when the general audience does not care. They do not give a fuck. They do not care whatsoever. Do your job. Translate the text. Do your job. Make it entertaining, and that's all you have to do. Be your own person. You can be your own person, but you have to be your own person off the clock. If you're on somebody else's clock, you're doing your job. That's all there is to it. It's just a part of growing up. This high school attitude at the time, this high school attitude that I'm seeing seems to be, for the most part, getting some large pushback. And at least with the localizers, especially with the Japanese media, as somebody who's been to Japan more than once, I will tell you, when you start fucking around with their business, they don't play nice with that. Because you notice, as soon as it was immediately viable and they saw you were still messing up, they replaced you with AI. You have no one to blame in this situation but yourselves. And you can sit here and try to lash out at everybody and pretend, oh, well, it's not my fault, it's everybody else's fault because we didn't buy it. Again, you had one job. You had one job, and that was just to do your job correctly, because the money was already there. You were literally just the middleman that had to push it through and get it done, and you couldn't do that. I have no sympathy for you. I really don't. Sans the ones that were actually doing their jobs correctly and lost it to AI. If they were doing it correctly, despite the fact they may have had a chip on their shoulder, because there's people out there that's like that. There's people out there that hate their jobs, but they can do it amazingly well. I know it's weird, but it's called getting your paycheck. But sans the people who were doing their job correctly and got replaced, you do have my sympathy. You really do. Everybody else, you'll find my sympathy somewhere in the dictionary between shit and syphilis. But anyway, that's just my casual 30,000-foot view rant on the matter. I could be wrong about a lot of things, but as I've said, hopefully in the middle of this, because I've lost myself, please go out and do your own research. I'm just a talking head on the internet, and I can tell you just from my opinion where these people went wrong. My word is not law. My word is not the absolute. But with all that being said, I would hope you guys stay safe, have a good one, and yeah, I don't know what the next video is going to be, but I am going to eventually finish this project. I'm out.